Well, how's it going, guys? And this is going to be a specially requested video from several of you who contacted me, not only on one of my previous videos that I did with the channel shout outs, where I talked about my journey to, I talked a little bit about my journey to cooking from scratch and how it was basically done out of necessity and kind of by force instead of by choice. So many of you reached out to me and told me that you guys were struggling, whether it be financially, with work, or with health issues, whatever the case may be. Many of you expressed an interest in the grocery list that my girlfriend Naida gave to me when I was first starting out cooking from scratch, and I had no clue what to buy. I didn't own really any staples other than prepackaged foods. So where do you start? What do you buy? Where do you begin? So that is what this video is going to be about. And this is for anyone out there who just has no clue where to start. I had zero clue. I was the girl who bought the 5-pound bag of flour and kept it in my cupboard for 5 years and used it once on Toll House chocolate chip cookies at Christmas time. I had no other idea what you did with flour. So I was that girl. Like I said, cooking from scratch was not a choice for me, but just a way to survive, because financially I couldn't afford the prepackaged food anymore. We were eating Hamburger Helper without the hamburger. We were eating fried eggs, a lot of omelets, a lot of eggs, baked beans on toast, ramen noodles, mac and cheese, S-bar, hot dogs, those kinds of things, and I still couldn't afford the groceries. So I compiled a list. Now, I did not keep the list that Naida had originally given to me, just because I know what I use now by heart. And even though I had thought about keeping it as just for memory keepsake, I ended up not doing that in the move and cleaning things out and stuff. So what I did for you guys though is I compiled my own list. Now this is just a starter, okay? And depending on your budget, you can add to this, you can take away from it. If there's things on this list that you know that you're never going to use, there is no need to buy it. But these are the staples that I need on hand to be able to cook from scratch. Now, where you go from there and where you take it from there, you can keep adding and adding, and before you know it, you have a well-stocked pantry behind you, food in buckets, the list goes on. You know, my pantry is a baby pantry compared to many others here on YouTube. So where you start from this is totally up to you. This video is mainly for those people out there that are struggling and don't know where to start, or those people who are really have a passion to get started from and learning how to cook from scratch and have no clue where to begin. So this list is for you, and I'm going to go, I'm going to try to go slow because I'm going to try to put it in words and make it pop up on the screen for you. Writing this whole list down in my description box is going to be a little hard for me on my phone. So but I'll go nice and slow, so grab your pen, grab your paper, and let's get started. I'll show you where I started. First and foremost, all-purpose flour. So you're gonna need flour. Flour is like the base of pretty much everything I did, and really was the base of baking bread. I could no longer afford store-bought bread or store-bought hamburger buns and hot dog buns and dinner rolls and all, you know, breadcrumbs, all those things add up. But making it from scratch saved me a lot of money. So all-purpose flour. Now, from there, you can, of course, add whole wheat flour. You can add bread flour. You can add rye flour. I mean, you can grow from there. But if you're on a budget, you need at least all-purpose flour. You can also add Vital white wheat gluten to that list. If you add Vital wheat gluten to your all-purpose flour, you will have bread flour without having to buy bread flour separately. Also, if you get into wheats and rye, you might want to get a dough conditioner and all that kind of stuff. the passion can grow from there. But at the very least, and if you're on a budget, all-purpose flour. You're also going to need yeast. I use an instant yeast just because it's easier. I use SAF brand. I've used many brands out there. SAF is my favorite, and I buy it in bulk. And I get that from GFS or Gordon Food Service. And that's where I buy mine from. I also buy several at a time, and I stick them in my deep freezer, and that way I always have it on hand. And I always keep my yeast in the freezer, so it's, you know, it keeps longer in the freezer. So there's that. I don't buy breadcrumbs. I make it myself with old bread. You know, when your bread gets stale, make your own breadcrumbs, make your own bread cubes, make your own croutons. It'll save you a ton of money if you're on a budget. Second, cornmeal. Like I put up a video yesterday. I'll throw a card up above so you guys can see that. You can make a lot of different things from cornmeal, and it's just always good to have on hand. Potato flakes. Potato flakes, not only can you make potatoes with it, but you can also use it as a thickener in your soups, in your stews, and I use it in bread to make really soft bread. My kids like really soft bread when they have their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and potato flake is a secret to really soft bread. So always have potato flakes on hand. Cornstarch. So you're going to need cornstarch. That will come in handy as a thickener. Rolled oats. Also, you can do a lot of things with rolled oats, from adding it to bread to, you know, oatmeal to oatmeal cookies. So I always have rolled oats on hand. Powdered sugar. Now you can make your own, but you're going to need like some kind of food processor or like a Vitamix to do that. And, you know, if you're struggling financially, that might not be doable for you. Powdered sugar is one of those things that I just buy because it's just not worth the extra work. I can buy a nice big bag of powdered sugar at Aldi's for $1.29. So I always buy powdered sugar, but you want to have that on hand. There's lots of things you can do with that. Baking soda and baking powder. Staples in the kitchen, and you will need those quite often as well. You're going to need regular sugar. I use just usually pure cane sugar, and you're going to want molasses. And when you mix those two, you can make your own homemade brown sugar. So there's no need to buy brown sugar. Brown sugar is expensive. And trust me when I say, when you make your own from scratch, you will never want store-bought again, because it does not even taste the same. Homemade tastes like candy. So make your own brown sugar. It will save you a lot of money. I buy my molasses also from GFS. I buy it by the gallon. It's a little expensive when you do it that way, but in the long run, it saves you a lot of money because it ends up being cheaper than buying it in the smaller bottles. Vanilla extract. Now I make my own vanilla extract, but I started that 5.5 years ago when I started on this journey of cooking from scratch. And that was back when vanilla beans weren't very expensive. Now vanilla beans are expensive because I believe the crops got kind of washed out, I think. So I think vanilla is back on the mend, and we hope to see prices start coming down, but right now vanilla is expensive. So if you have vanilla beans, you can make your own homemade extract, and I do have a video on that. I will leave that up above in a card for you. So either make your own or buy it, but you definitely want vanilla extract because you will use it often when you're making food from scratch. Honey. Honey is a must-have staple. Cocoa powder. Maple syrup. This one you can kind of get away with if you don't mind going without. You can use maple flavoring instead of maple syrup. That will save you money if you're on a budget. But if you can splurge and afford it, grab the maple syrup. Also, chocolate chips and raisins, especially if you have littles. You can make so much with chocolate chips and raisins. And when you have kids, that's a must. You know, keeping at least a treat here and there is a must for kids, I think. So, Worcestershire sauce. Did I say that right? Worcestershire sauce. That is a staple in my pantry, along with soy sauce, along with lemon juice, and beef or chicken base. Now I use the tones and I buy mine in bulk from Sam's Club, but you can use Better Than Bouillon is really good. Anything like a beef or a chicken base. You can get the vegetable base if you're vegetarian. Otherwise, don't spend the extra money on that. You'll mainly use the beef or the chicken. As far as oils and fats go, always have olive oil on hand. I always have vegetable oil on hand because there's going to be some recipes that only call for vegetable oil. I always have butter and I always have lard. I do not use shortening. You can do your research on that. Lard is a lot healthier for you, so I use lard. I buy that at the grocery store, and I also buy that several boxes at a time, and then I put it in my deep freezer. Several vinegars that you're going to want to have on hand: white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and balsamic. All three are extremely different, and you're going to need all three when you're cooking from scratch at one time or another. Stocks. Now, stocks you can make from scratch. I make mine from scratch and can it, but if you don't have that tool available to you, you don't know how to can, just buy it. Beef, chicken, and vegetable stock, you can buy that inexpensive enough. I buy it, when I have to buy it, I buy it at Aldi's for a little over $1 a carton. Cans of tomatoes is going to be important. If I had to pick, if I was on a budget, I would stick with crushed tomatoes and tomato paste. Tomato paste, always useful. Crushed tomatoes, it's a little bit more versatile than, like, say, tomato sauce, which might be a little runny for some dishes, or diced tomatoes or whole tomatoes that might be a little chunky for certain recipes. So you can't ever go wrong with crushed, in my opinion. So if you're on a budget, go with crushed. If you can afford to buy a little of each, do a little of each. Onion soup mix in a box. Now I know you can make it from scratch, but it's so inexpensive. I get mine at Aldi's, and it's something that you can put in anything, from meatloaf to hamburgers to soups to stews. It's so versatile, and it's a good thing to have in your pantry. Of course, rice, pasta, beans. We're not even going to mention the meats, veggies, fruits, dairy, eggs, nuts. Those are all up to you on what you get as far as staples go, and what you and your family like to eat. Along with seeds. Like, I have a lot of seeds. I have flaxseed, I have red and golden flaxseed, chia seeds, poppy seeds, sesame seeds. Those aren't necessary, but when you start adding them to breads and you're eating bread a lot because you're making homemade bread, sometimes playing with it a little bit is fun. And of course, nuts, always healthy as a snack, but they're expensive. So all of those things are going to be up to you on what you add to your pantry. Extracts and flavorings. The three staples that I always have on hand is maple, because you can do so much with maple, including making your own pancake syrup. Almond and lemon, and I use that in a lot of baking. I mean, I have peppermint and all that. That's up to you if you start adding on to that, but at least get maple if nothing else. And then that leads us to seasonings. And when you're cooking from scratch, seasonings are going to be your very best friend, because you can really change up a dish just by adding a little different seasoning to it. So seasonings, salt. I have iodized salt, Himalayan salt, kosher, sea salt, pretzel, and canning salt. But if I had to pick one salt, if I was on a budget, I would pick probably the Himalayan or the sea salt to start with. You're going to want black pepper. You're going to want a dehydrated onion or garlic. I'm not a real big fan of the powdered ones, but it's a personal preference. It's whatever you prefer to use. Paprika. At least get the sweet paprika. If you can afford the smoked, get the smoked, because the smoked is really good, but it's expensive. So if you're on a budget, forego the smoked and just stick with the sweet. You're also going to need parsley, chives, oregano, sweet basil, cumin, and chili powder. With that, you can make your own homemade chili. Dry mustard. With dry mustard, you can make your own barbecue sauce, the Sloppy Joe mix. Dry mustard is really good to have on hand. You can make your own honey mustard with dry mustard. Turmeric, cinnamon, nutmeg, rosemary, thyme, and then sage, bay leaves, marjoram, celery seed, and dill. Those aren't my favorite, but they're good to have on hand, and if you like those flavors, make sure you grab those. And then as far as pantry items go, ketchup, mustard, peanut butter, hot sauce, steak sauce, and mayonnaise. Those are things I do not make from scratch. Well, the peanut butter I do, but the peanut butter, when it's fresh, you have to keep it in the refrigerator and you have to use it within a week. So having some peanut butter on your shelf as a staple is much easier if you can't make it from scratch. But those are the things that I don't make that I always have in my pantry. And then from there you can grow your pantry, but these are the staples, the must-haves to start cooking from scratch. If you have these things in your pantry, you can pretty much make anything. I promise you that. So I hope this video helps somebody out there. That was the whole purpose of making this video for you guys. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to worry about how you're going to feed your family. You know, rubbing two pennies together and trying to cook a meal for, you know, a large family with very little funds. This is how I did it, and trust me when I say I cried every day for a month. When I learned how to cook from scratch, it was so hard, and it took me about 5 hours every night to cook dinner. And I made about 3 loaves of bread a day because my bread was so bad. It was so ugly. I couldn't give it away fast enough. I had breadcrumbs for a year. But, you know, you do what you have to do. Better times are ahead, and if you're struggling, just know that you're not alone. And if you have any questions and I can help you out in any way, just let me know. Just hit me up, and you know, you're not alone. I hope this was helpful to you. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below for me. I will try to answer them. And if you want me to expand at all on my list, let me know that too. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video. But this video was really laying heavy on my heart, especially after reading some of your private messages to me. And just know that you're not alone, and you've got a whole community here, at least on my channel, to lean on. So, all right, guys, with that, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll be seeing you soon. All right, bye, guys.